until you're knee-deep in the human perversion that is rape and murder.
The body was nude, other than her jeans were on one of her ankles. A shoe was laying off to the side.
There's a diamond ring on the ring finger of her left hand. Single stone, small, but it has value. It isn't removed. This isn't robbery that goes south somehow. So that eliminates one motive almost immediately. Looking at her face, she has 3 coat hangers made into a bridle you would see on a horse. My God. At the back of the head, these wires are twisted together to form a handle where someone can control the movement of her head. The wires cut into the joints of her cheeks and into the flesh of her face. It's very disturbing. Very disturbing.
She had bite marks on her body. One of the nipples had been actually bitten off.
I was really amazed by the savagery committed by someone who has all been reduced to a hyena. Incisor wounds from his teeth into a dead body. Removal of a nipple by biting it off. Savage crime.
It wasn't a random, quick, impulsive action. Someone that had a monster inside him had spent considerable time torturing her. The body looked so cold and so alone.
First off, you got to figure out who this victim is. In this particular case, lo and behold, her driver's license was laying on the ground next to the body. It turns out that she's an active soldier. She belonged to a unit out at Fort Carson.
Colorado Springs in 1987 was a military town. So we know that she's Darlene Krayshock and she's 20 years old. She's active duty military. She's young, has her whole life in front of her. And somebody took it from her in the worst possible way. But it puzzled me why he would display the ID. It's as if he's taunting us. Here's who she is. But you don't know who I am, do you? Charles Green is our crime scene technician. Technician Green is a very competent guy.
Charlie was a meticulous evidence collector, photographer. He was so careful and so attentive to every little detail.
There was 3 cigarettes on the asphalt next to the body. It made me wonder why they were so close to the body.
Is it an employee sneaking outside for a smoke break, or is it our perpetrator admiring his work? So when we collected this evidence, we did so with the best possible methods, rubber gloves, masks, everything, in order to preserve it for subsequent identification. We see tire tracks right next to this body, which indicates the body transported to that location. There was no question in my mind this crime occurred somewhere else. Where did it occur? We don't know. The question is, who is responsible for this death? Where is he now? He's a ghost. He's a puff of smoke. He's a shadow in the night. How am I going to figure this out?
After Sergeant Kinda arrived, closer examination was made of the body. The body is that of a white female, laying partially on her back. There were 3 cigarette butts located on the ground. These were each picked up, and a sample of the soil under the body. The evidence they collected had been packaged, categorized, just like we would today. And what that does is it preserves that evidence. If we didn't have the evidence that they collected in 1987, the case goes nowhere.
So I'd leave that crime scene area, and I want to go talk to the people in the Korean Club.
Could this have occurred inside the bar and the victim dumped outside? That's one of our first things to look at because of the location of the body.
So he showed this ID photograph to all the employees. Nobody's ever seen her before. But the bartender does provide one useful piece of information in terms of timeline for our crime scene.
He's able to say that he was the last person out. It was right around 2 o'clock. He didn't notice anything. 5:20 in the morning, that's when the victim was first identified.
That narrows our timeline down to 3 hours and change. That's important. Darlene, where were you for those 3 hours? And with whom? When we got to the morgue and the body thawed, the violence became even worse.
The autopsy performed on Darlene told us a lot.
Not only was she beaten, she was sexually assaulted, she was sodomized.
She strangled on the wires around her neck, fighting for air to breathe and unable to do so. That's what actually killed her. You look at this and you think, Mike, who are we looking for here? The cold temperatures can trap liquid that comes from a perpetrator, seminal fluid or other such things. That's recoverable when it melts and drains onto the table. So all those things can be useful. Most homicides in the United States occur between people who know each other. So you have to find out who Darlene Krayshock is before you can possibly find out who may wanted her dead.
I answered the door. It was a sergeant from the Army. And he said, your daughter, Darlene, has been killed. And I said, killed? I said, what happened? And he said, homicide. And I said, homicide? Somebody killed her?
At that point, there was disbelief. They had it wrong. There was no conflicts going on, so she shouldn't be dead. She couldn't be dead.
Quite honestly, it was a basket case. Nobody wants to see their child go.
And then there's like, why, what happened? Of course, nobody had any answers. When reality really set in, your world just fell apart. My world fell apart. It left an empty hole in the middle of you.
Mr. and Mrs. Crashaw come in to deal with the loss of their child.
Darlene was born in Baltimore, Maryland. She was a good kid. She was very outgoing. She was very caring. It was more than mother and daughter. You know, we were kind of best friends. She was a tomboy. She wanted to work on big trucks.
Darlene wanting to join the military, she had in her head her dream of wanting to drive tractor trailers. So she joined to get the Army to teach her. Her serving, of course, it made me proud.
We asked them about something we noticed at the crime scene, that Darlene was wearing what looked to us like an engagement ring. Do they have any knowledge of that? Oh, yes, they did. She was actually married once to a young man who was in the Army, a Glenn Geringer.
I really didn't know anything about him. She and Glenn hooked up and decided to get married. They could live off post and, you know, which I didn't agree with, but she was going to do what she wanted to do anyhow.
1920, I mean, you don't know what you want to do. I mean, come on. You think you do, but you don't.
They were not compatible for each other. They filed for the divorce, and then her divorce would have been final a few days after she was killed.
Now, divorced husbands always intrigue me. We already know that whoever did this crime hates women. Sometimes a divorcee can hate their ex-wife, really hate her. So this young man has emerged. He's at the top of our list.
Geringer was also a soldier out of Fort Carson.
The benefit of working with Fort Carson was the immediate access of their soldiers. If we needed to talk with somebody, CID or their military police would go pick those people up and make them readily available to us.
Well, Glenn, who are you? How'd you feel about this divorce? Were you angry enough to kill her over it? You can always tell someone who is lying and trying to look emotional, trying to fake as if they're sobbing. But that wasn't Geringer. He was genuine. He was very emotional about the loss of Darlene Crashaw. He goes on to explain that even though they were divorced, they were friends.
He was asked where he was at the night before. He's got a new girlfriend in his life. He was with her all night the night before.
They hadn't seen each other in months. Totally cooperative witness, has an alibi. We took hair samples, we took blood, and we looked at his teeth. They in no way match the bite mark evidence we have from the victim. We move on. So who is Mr. X? We still don't know. Everybody we talked to, we took a blood sample from and preserved it to create a database of biological samples. The process to do that was complicated, and it was expensive. And I argued, let's do this. And it may never come to anything, but it could come to everything. So we did it. So everybody we spoke to in this case, I had their blood.
The storage of that evidence over time so that the DNA doesn't deteriorate and could still be used for comparison 30 years later was phenomenal. In 1987,